In Guyana, where stories settle into the air like mist over the Demerara River, there is one name that drifts through rum shops, business meetings, mining camps, and hushed political corridors with the same weight and certainty as the turning tide. Nazar Mohammed. For decades, his presence has loomed over the private sector, not with loud speeches or flashing cameras, but with the kind of quiet, measured influence that makes powerful men lean in when he enters the room. His life, though wrapped in privacy and whispered with myth, is the kind of tale that begins in simplicity, rises through grit, and settles into legend. Nazar Mohammed did not start life among the wealthy. His story began in a Guyana far removed from the glamour he would one day be associated with. A Guyana where families pushed through hard seasons, where faith kept communities grounded, and where ambition wasn't a luxury, but a necessity. Born into a humble Muslim household, he grew up learning discipline before he ever learned business. Early mornings at prayer, chores done without complaint, and a deep respect for elders formed the foundation on which the man called Shell would be built. His family emphasized honesty, hard work, and resilience, all traits that would later become his business trademarks. The nickname Shell has its own folklore. Some swear it came from his early involvement in the fuel sector. Others claim it was a testament to his tough exterior, a man who looked calm, but beneath that stillness was hardness, determination, and unbreakable drive. Whether born from industry or personality, the name stuck, and soon, Shell became far more recognizable than his given name, Nazar. As a teenager, Shell was not one to idly watch life pass him by. He was always on the move, helping, trading, delivering, observing. While other boys his age thought about leisure, he thought about opportunity. He admired the astute businessmen who ruled commerce in Georgetown, watched the way fleets came and went at dawn, tracked how goods moved through the markets, and studied how influential men shook hands quietly behind closed doors. These were the early lessons of a determined young hustler who understood instinctively that wealth is built by those willing to get their hands dirty while the world sleeps. His first ventures were small, modest fuel deliveries, transporting supplies, helping miners and contractors with the essentials needed to keep operations running. But in those humble beginnings lay the blueprint for something far larger. Shell listened more than he spoke. He learned the rhythms of the mining world. Who needed supplies, who needed fuel, who was trustworthy, who paid on time, and who needed a reliable man to help them survive the unpredictable hinterland economy. Bit by bit, he positioned himself as the go-to man for reliability. Guyana's business climate rewards those who show consistency, and Shell had this in abundance. As his small operations grew, so did his confidence. The boy became the man, and the man became a businessman. With each passing year, his network deepened. Miners came to trust him. Contractors came to depend on him. And soon, the opportunities that once looked distant began knocking at his door. The fuel business expanded. Distribution channels widened. His name began circulating among serious players, quietly, respectfully, undeniably. But the turning point, the moment where Shell crossed from small-scale hustler to major private sector force, came when he entered the world of gold trading. Guyana's gold industry has always been a landscape of danger and reward. It is a world where fortunes change overnight, where miners must battle not just for gold, but for survival. It demands grit, intelligence, trust, and strategy. It is not a place for amateurs. And yet, Shell stepped into this arena with a calmness that unsettled even experienced players. He understood a truth that many missed. Gold was not just about the metal, it was about relationships. Miners did not simply need a buyer, they needed financing, fuel, transportation, equipment, and a dependable system to keep their operations alive. Shell became the man who could offer all of it. He was not just purchasing gold, he was building a support network that made him indispensable to those who worked deep in the bowels of Guyana's mining interior. His operations became structured, organized, efficient. Soon, the flow of gold into his hands grew steady, and with that flow came prosperity. The business expanded into what would eventually be known publicly as Mohammed's enterprise, a name that, by the 2000s, was synonymous with significant gold exports in Guyana. His Georgetown office buzzed with activity. Trucks moved daily. Containers came and went. Gold, Guyana's treasured resource, became the fuel that propelled the Mohammed legacy forward. By then, Shell was not just another businessman. He was a central pillar of Guyana's private sector. The business expanded into what would eventually be known publicly as Mohammed's enterprise, a name that, by the 2000s, was synonymous with significant gold exports in Guyana. His Georgetown office buzzed with activity. Trucks moved daily. Containers came and went. Gold, Guyana's treasured resource, became the fuel that propelled the Mohammed legacy forward. By then, Shell was not just another businessman. He was a central pillar of Guyana's private sector. Yet through all this success, he maintained a quiet, almost reclusive personal life. Those close to him describe him as deeply devoted to his family, protective of his privacy, and grounded in his faith. His wife, a woman known for her strength and loyalty, became the anchor of his household. Their marriage was not built on luxury or public display, but on partnership. Two people who grew together through the phases of business, parenthood, challenge, and triumph. While other wealthy families flaunted their lifestyle, the Mohammeds kept theirs behind closed doors, choosing stability over spectacle. Their children, particularly his son, Azruddin Mohammed, would later take on larger public roles. People often mistake Azruddin's flamboyance, his love for high-end cars, racehorses, luxury travel, and public philanthropy, for a reflection of his father, but those who truly understand the family know better. Shell was the architect behind the scenes, the strategist, the foundation. Azruddin brought energy and modernity to the empire, while Shell maintained the quiet strength of the old-school businessman who built everything from the ground up. As Shell's business interests grew, they stretched into multiple sectors: fuel distribution, logistics, real estate, mining support, transportation, and various diversified investments. His fleet of trucks became a recognizable part of Guyana's industrial backbone. His fuel operations supplied miners, contractors, builders, and major industrial clients. His financial footprint extended far into the hinterlands, where miners depended on him for stability. Real estate acquisitions in and around Georgetown expanded his asset base. Everything he touched seemed to multiply, and yet he rarely appeared in the media. He granted almost no interviews. His name floated around Guyana like a powerful but quiet current, felt but seldom seen. His influence was not loud, it was structural. But with power comes scrutiny. Over the years, Shell found himself the subject of rumors, investigations, and political debates. His name surfaced in international headlines more than once. Critics speculated, supporters defended. But through it all, Shell remained unbothered in public. His empire did not crumble. His operations did not slow. His family did not retreat. He simply continued working, continued expanding, continued standing tall in an environment where many would have folded To his supporters, this resilience proved his strength. To his critics, it added to the mystique. Regardless of what people said, one undeniable truth remained. Shell was one of the richest men in Guyana. Exact figures were never publicly disclosed because Shell himself would never reveal them. But financial analysts, private sector watchers, and business insiders often placed his estimated net worth somewhere between 150 million and 250 million US dollars. Factoring in gold exports, real estate, transportation assets, fuel depots, land holdings, mining investments, private reserves, and business operations. Some whispered that his wealth could be even greater. But the man himself stayed silent on such matters. He let results speak for him. Despite his wealth, he was never known for flamboyant personal spending. He was not the man buying 10 luxury cars. He was not the man showing off mansions on social media. He lived comfortably, yes, but he invested far more than he spent. Money, to him, was a tool, never a trophy. His philanthropy followed the same discreet pattern. He donated generously to community causes, masjids, sports clubs, neighborhood programs, struggling families, youth groups, and individuals needing help. But he preferred anonymity. He wasn't interested in headlines. He cared about impact. Some of his most significant contributions came during crises, when families needed food, equipment, or support in emergencies. Shell had a habit of giving without announcing. The Mohammed legacy continued strengthening as his children stepped into more visible leadership roles. Azruddin became the face of the new generation. A businessman, philanthropist, sports investor, luxury car enthusiast, and high-profile figure who carried the family name into social spaces that Shell himself never sought. Together, father and son built a dynamic narrative, the silent strategist and the public successor. The two halves balanced each other, forming a dynasty that remains one of the most powerful in Guyana's private sector. Please subscribe for more.